Okay, moving on in these hyperbolas, we are going to do exactly what we did with circles, with ellipses. We are going to complete the square. Okay, the difference here is that, remember, in a hyperbola, there's a minus separating the two of them. Okay, so all the steps are going to be exactly the same, except at the end, we might have to move something around just so the minus is in between. Okay, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. Okay, so if you have your ellipse notes from when we did this with ellipses from Unit 5A, then it's exactly the same. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is get our x's and our y's together and move our constant to the other side. So I have negative 9x squared minus 18x, 16y squared plus 64y. And remember, when he moves, he becomes positive. Okay, he changes signs. He's currently negative, so when he moves over, he becomes positive. Okay, and now we're going to factor out the guy that is with the x squared and the guy that's with the y squared. Okay, so I'm going to have my negative 9 come out, and I'm left with x squared minus 2x. I'm going to pull out my 16, and I'm left with y squared plus, whoops, not minus, plus 4y. Okay, y'all know I don't like to follow steps over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make my bubbles. Like I did before, I have my x bubble with my negative 9. I have my y bubble with my 16 in the front. And remember, over here, when I add, I also have to multiply by the number that's in the front. So when I fill in this bubble, I'm actually going to multiply those two guys by it. Okay, and then we take half like we always do. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 4 divided by 2 is positive 2. And then we square it. Negative 1 squared is 1. That goes with the 9. And 4 goes with the 16. Okay, we're going to simplify that just a little bit. I'm going to erase these steps right here. X minus 1 squared. Y plus 2 squared. And I'm going to type all this in my calculator in one step. Okay, so it's literally going to look just like it is there. 89 plus negative 9 times 1 plus 16 times 4. Okay, and I get 144. Okay, and then remember, all ellipses and hyperbolas are always set equal to 1, so I'm going to divide by 144. Everybody gets divided by 144. And the only thing that should simplify is that you're left with a 1 on top and then a different number on bottom. So this negative 9 and this 16 should disappear if I did the math right. Okay, remember, use your alpha y equals button just like we did before. So for this first one, I have a negative 9 over 144. And that simplifies to negative 1 over 16. So I have negative x minus 1 squared over 16. And then 16 over 144 is 1 over 9. So I have y plus 2 squared over 9, and that equals 1. Okay, here's the final step that we didn't have in the other one. Okay, because I know this is a hyperbola. Okay, I know this is a hyperbola, and I know that hyperbolas are separated with a minus. Okay, right now it's an ellipse. Okay, in order for it to become a hyperbola, this has to be a minus sign. Well, looky here. Okay, there's actually a minus in front of the x, so all I really have to do is literally change places. So my y gets to come first, now making it a y hyperbola, and then my x goes second. So now I actually have a hyperbola. Okay? See, I got to save y'all a whole step there. Okay, again, don't forget to pause it if you need to. Look at that. Of course, we're going to do some more examples. Okay, so let's flip it over and we'll do two more examples. Okay, so again, step one, let's get our x's and y's together and move that constant fella to the other side. When he moves over, he becomes positive. Okay, look at the number hanging out with your squared variables, and that's the one that gets pulled out to the front. So when I divide him out, I'm left with an x squared plus 4x. When I pull that negative 3 out, I'm left with a y squared minus 4y. And of course my 27 is still sitting there waiting. Now I'm going to make my bubbles. So I have my x bubble with my 3 in the front. I have my y bubble with my negative 3 in the front. And I'm going to create my two spaces over here with my numbers that I pulled out. And just like with every completing the square, we're dividing. So 4 divided by 2 is positive 2 in the bubble. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2 in the bubble. I got my squares on my bubbles. And then when you square them, they always become positive over here. Okay, when we simplify that right side of the equal sign, I'm just copying everything else and again typing that in exactly like I see it. And how about that? I end up with 27. I need to make it equal 1. So I divide by this answer over here using my alpha y equals button. 3 over 27 is 1 over 9. So I have x plus 2 squared over 9 when I simplify, minus y minus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. I already have a minus separating them, which makes it a hyperbola, so I don't have to move anybody. So that one is finished. Okay, example number 3. X's together. Okay, and just like before, there is not a y, so if you want to go ahead and put a 0y just to keep things the same, go ahead and do that. It does not mess anything up, and it will eventually disappear. You'll see in a minute. pull out my squared variable. Create your bubble. And create your blanks over here. And when we divide, we get a positive 2 here. Again, we get 0 here, so it's not going to hurt anything. 2 squared is 4, 0 squared is 0. When I simplify, and that whole right side is 252. Okay, when I divide by 252, I end up with negative x plus 2 squared over 28. Plus, remember to use your alpha y equals, it'll leave it as a fraction for you. Ooh. Oh, hello. I'm an idiot. It is not 252. It's 225, which y'all are probably yelling at me right now that it's 225 and that I can't add. But y'all should be used to that, remember? It's not that I can't necessarily add, I can't copy apparently. So 225 seems a little better. It's funny that the negative 9 even worked, to be honest. So x plus 2 squared, and you simplify that. You get 1 over 25, so this one's over 25, plus y squared over 9. Is that equal to 1? And of course you know this is a hyperbola, which means the minus has to be in the middle. Here's my minus right here in front of my x, so I'm literally swapping places. Swap the places, and that is it. Okay, at this point, go ahead and take out a sheet of paper. Do either the odds or the evens. Take your pick, okay? Odds or evens. Take your pick and go ahead and staple that inside, or insert that into your packet, okay, so that it is in your packet for you when you turn those in, okay? Either odds or evens. Again, odds or evens for that 1 through 8 down there. Okay, work those out, make sure that you get a minus in between, and then add that to your packet. Okay, make sure that is attached to your packet for testing purposes and for packet purposes.